Stand up for Jesus. Stand up for him. Stand up, stand up. Stand up. Come on and stand up. Be a witness for the Savior. Be a witness for the Lord. You should be a witness for my Jesus. You should be a witness for him. If you got shoes on your feet, and you got a voice to speak, come on and tell it. Come on and tell it. Come on and tell it. Everywhere you go. Don't be ashamed. To be a witness for the
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Glide Memorial Church Celebration. We are so glad that you have decided to be with us here today. You know, my job today, just like it was last week when the verdict was announced, just like it was last year when I read a very similar thought to this, my job is to remind you that the actions you take now and the stories you tell next are necessary and important. Because through your actions and through your storytelling, you affirm that freedom is the goal and the aim of this uprising and this upwelling called Glide. Unconditional and revolutionary love is the aim. Yes, we want justice for the deaths of Ahmaud, George, Breonna, Tony, Elijah, and the countless named and unnamed judged, juried, and executed at the hands of the police, the state, and state actors. But my job today, my intention today in this celebration on this last Sunday of National Poetry Month is to remind you that a guilty verdict of one police officer is not justice in a system that continues to produce, keep on payroll, and unleash the Derek Chauvins on our world. I'm here to remind you that the story is not over. If you're within earshot or eyeshot of this celebration, my intention is that you will know that your version of the story has not yet been told. We don't get to pick up where we left off. Where we left off is where Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, and Oscar Grant were killed. The book was thrown at Derek Chauvin, but that book rarely ever worked for us and was not written for us. So until they throw the book out and center the voices of Black people, of queer people, of color, of women, of the differently abled, and the elders, we keep writing, we keep poeting, we keep telling, and beloved, we have to promise one another to keep living. Welcome to Glide Memorial Church. On behalf of our CEO and President, Karen Hanrahan, our co-founders, the Right Reverend Cecil Williams and San Francisco's former poet laureate, and our guest preacher for today, Janice Mirkatani. On behalf of our board of directors, our senior leadership, our dedicated lay leadership and congregational life leaders, our church office, and our congregation, I want you to know that you are welcome here. My name is Marvin K. White, and I'm your minister of celebration. If you are a first-time visitor at Glide Memorial Church, please raise your hand. And if you're in the comment section or the chat, make yourself known. We want to send and dispense all the love we can to you while you're here. And we want you to know that we have been expecting you. And we want to stay in touch with you as well. So if you would, there's now a link that appears in the chat. And it's a way for you to subscribe to our Congregation Connects newsletter And it will show you all of the ways that you can stay connected here at Glide and the ways that we are creating community here. So please sign up for our Congregation Connects mailing list and welcome to Glide. Now the virtual prayer basket is open. And what that means is that our chat has miraculously turned into our prayer basket. And we have a dedicated group of prayer circle folks who come together every Wednesday evening and pray over every prayer that comes in through the virtual prayer basket in the chat, or also if they come in through online submissions or emails. All of those prayers are prayed over on Wednesday evenings. So put your prayers in the chat right now. And if your prayer is for yourself and you don't normally ask for prayers for yourself, today is your day. And all you have to do, it's so easy. All you have to do is type the word me in the prayer. Me. We don't need to know what it's for, but we know that we will pray for you. So put me in the chat. But if you need a prayer for your family, your friends, your block, your neighborhood, city, state, nation, or this world, if you need a prayer for a situation, if you really want something and you want us to pray for it, if you really want something to go away and you want us to pray for it, all of it is what we will pray for. So please put it all in the chat that you feel comfortable with. And if you want to send us an email or submit online your prayers, please follow the links in the chat right now. Let's pray. God of creation, God, the poet of the world, help us draw a line not between us and the oppressed, but draw a line from us to the homeless outside or further to the family and communities of George Floyd. Show us not a line between your mercy, God, and Glide, but draw a line from your mercy to Glide. And when you draw the line, we know it is not erasable. We are not erasable. The God line works towards justice from wherever we are and empowers us to tear down disillusionment, fear, cynicism, racism, classism, homophobia, and misogyny, and replace it all with forgiveness and love. When you draw the line, oh God, we know it is not erasable, and we are not erasable. Our collect, our response, our coming back here to Glide physically and virtually is the line that is grabbed and plotted to alleviate the suffering that's expressed as poverty, addiction disorders, mental health crises, racism, classism, homophobia, disinterest, and apathy that we have inherited. It is not a thin line, oh God. Affirming your own wholeness and happiness today in this celebration is not a thin line. Affirming someone else's wholeness and happiness today in this celebration is not a thin line. No longer wittingly or unwittingly participating in cycles of violence is not a thin line. And we in turn will draw a line from where you are now, God, to the future we want. When we bring our lines together, we get a map. When we show what it took for each of us to get here, when we draw the line, we know that the way forward is not erasable. Can somebody say amen, hallelujah, right on, shalom, salam, namaste, and ashe. I invite you now to join your voice with ours as we sing our community song.
gonna study War No More. That was our community song that was led by Imogen Foster. And good morning, my name is Vernon Bush. We love to sing here, and I hope you were singing for our community song. And I want to put a question out to you this morning as we go into our community embrace. And that question is something that I answer every morning. What good am I going to do for this day? What good am I going to bring to this day? So why don't you use that as your intention? And as we go into our community embrace, when we're in person, we embrace our brothers and sisters, say good morning, reach out into the chat and say good morning to every person that you've seen and that you've read, and just say hello. It's a beautiful morning, and we'll do our community embrace right now. You know, music is the lifeblood of Glide. We've sung for so many years, and singing these songs over and over again just brings us more strength as we continue in our week. We begin our week and we end our week with music. It's the soundtrack of our lives. And this first song that I'm going to introduce and just bring into the consciousness of you is going to be sung by a soloist that has been with the Glide Ensemble since that first clip that you saw this morning. Her name is Cheryl Sarami Turk, and she's going to be singing this song, one of my favorite songs, and it's called I Can Only Imagine. Following that song is going to be a song called He Took the Next Step. And following that song is Keep Your Arms Around Me, led by Leah Ticey. But first, let's listen to Cheryl Sarami Turk. Cheryl, come on and sing with us.
Thank you, Vernon. I just wanted to send a reminder to all the silent poets out there as we honor poetry this month, that your words can set you free like a bucket of cool water. So don't be afraid to tell your truth. Poetry is such a beautiful thing. Thanks. Can you imagine? Can you imagine just standing before the king? I can only imagine what it'd be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine, yeah, what my eyes would see with your face right before me. I can only imagine. I can only imagine to be surrounded by your glory, What will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine that all I will do is forever worship you. I can only imagine. I can only imagine to be surrounded by your glory. What will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine to be surrounded by your glory. What will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. Yeah. Can you only imagine? Come on. Whoa, I can only imagine to bow at your feet. I can only imagine. Yeah.
When my life was confused and I lost my way, I made a deal with the devil that I could not pay. God is my oasis in the desert when I'm dying of thirst. All I have to do is make sure He comes first. My God has carried me all the way. I'm confessing today 'cause He saved my life. He
That was Leah Ticey singing Keep Your Loving Arms Around Me. And before that, we heard from Michelle Arce, and we also heard from the amazing Cheryl Turk today. Thank you all for lending your voices to this celebration. Some announcements for you right now. If today is your birthday or observation that you know you want to be celebrated for, put that in the chat right now so we can celebrate you. We want to know what it is you want to celebrate. Your birthday, your anniversary, an event at work, something, anything, put it in the chat and let us celebrate you. Don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube, here on Facebook, and you can also listen to us on Podomatic or wherever you listen to your podcast. You are also welcome to use our call-in service. If you are using your phone to listen, then you could just call into our call-in number, register, and then the service will call you every Sunday right before celebration begins. All you have to do is pick up your phone and listen. I also want to invite you to stay connected to our congregational life groups. You are invited to attend any of them. There's a link in the chat that will show you all of the offerings we have every week. So please, whatever your interests are, we have something that will keep it. So please visit our congregational life group page. I want to remind you that you can register for the AIDS Walk or be a part of the Glide AIDS Walk team, or just support by making a donation to the Glide Church AIDS Walk team. Don't forget, we have meetings today. We have our Pride team meeting at 1 p.m. We also have our Keeping It Real meeting today, and that's our recovery group for whatever you are in recovery from, your workaholism or your alcoholism. We get to recover in front of each other and with one another. We also have the celebration of life for our very own Larry Lynch today. So please, we invite you to come to that. There's a link in the chat that will show you how to get there. Let's show up as a church family. Even if you didn't know Larry, you know the people here who have been impacted by his life. So please show up to the celebration of life for Larry Lynch today. And for a full list of our announcements, please visit our glide.org/church announcements webpage. Don't worry, that link is also in the chat. And you can keep abreast of everything that's going on here at Glide. Right now, we have the fourth of our month-long poetry witnesses for National Poetry Month. Kasia Ekstrand.
Good morning. I'm honored to be asked to share my experience of Glide. I came in 2018 and I was going through a tough time. I didn't know it was going to be about 3 times worse. But the community carried me through. It is better now, and I'm still carried virtually. 3 years ago, when I started serving meals, I stepped out of my comfort zone. When I joined the ensemble, I stepped out in fear, and I was asking myself, can I really do this? Do I even have the time? And I am so glad I did. Just a few days ago, I tried to be brave again. I sent a few poetry pieces in. I will now read one from last year. At the beginning of the lockdown, I took a writing workshop with Roger Housden titled Self-Care in Troubled Times. And our first prompt was fears. They're piling quickly on a page. Some landing quietly, others rage. Fear after fear create a splatter. You ask me why? Why does it matter? It is because when each I name, the fear becomes a tad more tame. They come from me and now lay here. Let's start with this ungainly sphere. Gray mass in upper corner lying is fear of all my children dying. A message written on its side, it says they'll die by suicide. This small wet splotch, that center front, is drying fast, That's what I want. It was a fear of a divorce, but I feel better and not worse. The tangle squatting on the right is all the worries of what might ensue when every system fails. Stock market, farming, college, jails, and spider web of thin black lace that under each fear starts to trace new line that wasn't there before is underlying threat of war. A funny blob, almost inviting, that's fear of starting serious writing. A momentary flaming speck, a fear of psychos who infect. This page is crowded so already, but something's coming, so hold steady. A bigger thing is falling now, a jelly matter that somehow smothers and covers with intention participating fear's convention. But Roger told, they all got quiet. You can't own or tame a fear of the unknown. But Roger told us you must end with a courageous upbeat bend. Instead of guessing who owns whom, I'll be addressing jellied doom with words of love and understanding. Who knows? It maybe needs some tending and waits to see who will now dare care for it. Maybe it's self-care. Thank you for letting me step out in fear, and thank you for holding me in unconditional love. And I'm Kasia, and I'm Glide.
Thank you, Kasia, for your witness and for your testimony, and in this National Poetry Month for your poetry. We are so glad that your journey led you here to Glide, that you found a place where you can bring your voice and your song and make that a part of your offering to the world. We believe that Glide is the place where the next Kasia is going to find their way to. They need a place right now, and they can see it in their minds. There's a place, they know it exists, where people of all kinds can come together, where all kinds of voices can come together and harmonize and lift up the voices of everyone. That place is Glide. And we're going into our offering time right now. If you can see Glide in your imagination and you want to make sure that we remain a reality so people who are on their journey here will find us, we're going to ask you right now to please give and give generously.
Spirit lifted up my feet, made me dance in the music of my soul. Yes, Spirit calls us out of closets of racism, sexism, homophobia, guilt, and greed. Spirit calls us out of apathy, to break out of cycles of dependency, break down walls of bigotry with the power of love. Who is singing this song? We are. We are the ones we choose to be. Who is singing this song? We are. Beautiful, bad women who celebrate themselves. Bad women, dark as plums and coffee, light as cream and butter, gold as sun on lemons, red as cinnamon, brown as cola, plump as mango, skinny as tallow. Bad women can cook, create a miracle in a pot, make something out of chicken feet, pig's feet, cornmeal, hog maw, fish head, ribs, roots, soy or red beans. Bad women celebrate themselves. Finger popping, hip shaking, big laugh, smart thinking, hefty thigh, wise mouth, soft syllabled, hat wearing, tangerine lipstick queens. Small and full breasted women, fat kneed, skinny ankled women who dance without warning, wrap their men or their women around their waist and boogie to the edge of dawn. Bad women resist, violent love affairs, child abuse, and unsafe sex. Stir their tears in cups of compassion. Bad women flavor our pots with hot sauce, wasabi, jalapenos, the salt of memory. Stoke the fires of history. Simmer in resilience. Make it taste like home. Bad women can burn. Make us dance in the music of our souls. Who is singing this song? I am.
Thank you so very much. Whether you gave through the donate button here on Facebook or through the virtual offering basket or at glide.org/igive, we want you to know that we appreciate and don't take for granted that it is a gift that you are sharing with us. So thank you so much. We're going to hear one more song from the incomparable Vernon Bush and Aaron Jones singing Glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Glory, glory, oh, glory, oh, glory.
Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Every day, women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skins become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. True and living, living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on that bus. That's why we walk through this nation with our fists up. When it goes down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shot, we on the ground. The camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, whoa. Now the war is not over and victory isn't won, but we'll fight on to the finish, and when it's all done, we'll cry glory, oh glory, yeah, 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 glory, yeah, 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 oh, we'll cry glory.
Is now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch. We gon' run with it now. Never look back. We done gone hundreds of miles from dark roads. He rose to become a hero, facing the League of Justice. His power was the people. enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle. The biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. We say our music is the cuts that we bleed through. Somewhere in the dream we had an epiphany. Now we right the wrongs in history. No one can win the war individually. It takes the wisdom of the elders and young people's energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord. My eyes have seen the glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory. Oh, we'll cry glory, yeah. Oh, glory, yeah, yeah.
That was Vernon Bush, Aaron Jones, and the Glide Ensemble, Glory. It is now my honor and my pleasure and my privilege to introduce our guest preacher for today. She needs no introduction here at Glide, but I'm going to read her bio to you anyway. Janice Mirkatani is the co-founder of Glide, in partnership with her husband, Cecil Williams, the Reverend Cecil Williams. Together, they have achieved worldwide recognition for their groundbreaking organization called Glide, which empowers San Francisco's poor and marginalized communities to make meaningful changes in their lives to break the cycle of poverty and dependence. Over 5 decades, Janice helped build over 87 comprehensive programs that provide education, recovery, support, primary and mental health care, job training, housing, and human services. Janice's passion has been to create programs for women, for families of color, and families as they struggle with issues of substance use, rape, incest, domestic violence, the AIDS crisis, single parenting, childcare, health, education, and jobs development. She has done it through creative means. She is a poet. She is a writer. She is San Francisco's former poet laureate. She is Glide's poet laureate, and she is my poet laureate. Janice Mirkatani, everyone.
Good morning, beloved community. It's my pleasure to join you this morning to celebrate National Poetry Month, and to also acknowledge that we celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander, or AAPI, Heritage Month in May. I don't fancy the lumped together AAPI term because we are so many more ethnic cultures, communities, and origins than is captured in that acronym, which hopefully our stories and poetry will illuminate. Poetry has the power to connect us, to reach our hearts, and hopefully to transform us. These stories and poems tie us to our histories. These words reliving us, releasing from us, from cages of shame, from barbed wire prisons, ugly, untrue names. We recognize our true selves at last. Our language is beautiful. Language. How much of my life I've had to challenge the language that demeans, dehumanizes, destroys, humiliates us, especially women and people of diverse backgrounds. Poetry has been, for me, the means of my self-definition, and my liberation and expression of my love for humanity, and to express simple pleasures, to feel the curl of syllables around my tongue, and to slide the deliciousness of words in through my lips like soul food for Cecil. We prepare this meal together. I complain, hurt, reduced to fury, again by their subtle insults, insinuations, because I am married to you, impossible autonomy, no mind of my own. You like your fish crisp, coated with cornmeal, fried deep, the sliced mangoes to sweeten the tang of lemons. My fish is raw, sliced thin as skin, on shredded radish, wasabi burning like green fire. You bake the cornbread flat and dip it in the thick soup I've brewed from turkey carcass, shiitake, soaked rice, sesame oil, and chervil. We laugh over watermelon and bubbling cobbler. You say there are few men who can stand to have a woman equal, upright. This meal, unsurpassed. You know, San Francisco is a city of poetry, a frontier for progressive thought, a fire pit for multi-ethnic, diverse, and revolutionary movement, and inspiration for justice and change. The recent months have had me reeling with PTSD, the murder trial of Derek Chauvin for the cruel death of George Floyd, and the feelings of relief by the jury's verdict. Still, more killings by police and mass gun deaths take our breath away, slapping us with all that slavery has wrought. And the rise of anti-AAPI hate crimes increased 150% during COVID, triggered me to my knees. In Atlanta, 8 women were murdered, 6 of whom were Asian and Asian American. Because according to Officer Jay Baker, the killer had a bad day, and he was compelled to eliminate the objects of his sex addiction. Talk about bad days. I have experienced sexual abuse and incest from the age of 6 to 16, raped as a college student, working summer jobs by white employers despite tears and protest. 3 corporate executives offered to fund me through college in exchange for sexual favors, which I refused, but was still mauled. Obscene job interviews require me to take off my clothes for a screen test. You should have seen the guy run when I threw my shoes. Much date abuse. On one occasion, a white college guy put his hands on my body and asked if my plumbing ran sideways. And I've had a past history of violent relationships. The worst of it is the shame I carried for all those acts of sexual violence because I had internalized my self-hate so deeply. I was embarrassed to tell anyone, feeling like somehow I invited the abuse, having accepted the stereotype that I, as an Asian American woman, was supposed to be compliant, docile, submissive, and silent, being second-class and inferior. This poem, Looking for America, is about how Asian women have been hypersexualized by white America. Now remember, I am of an older generation, so my references may be dated. I searched for myself in the pages of Vogue and Time, among the brilliant and beautiful, best-sold and discovered. I looked for myself on the screen, wooed by Bogart, Brando, and McQueen. On the tube, selling Colgate or Camay or Kotex or Crisco, and saw myself being shot by John Wayne, conquered by Stallone, out-karateed by Norris, Van Damme, and Seagal. I found myself in a bar, dancing for a tip, chung slam, slit to my hip. In the movies, an evil dragon lady, or a traitor Tokyo Rose, or lotus blossom on my knees, bowing humbly, or in a brothel, compliant and uncomplicated, wiping some imperialist lips with hot scented towels. I see myself pound my head on the glass of their ceiling, 2 rungs up a short corporate ladder. I meet myself pigeon-toed and shuffling, tongue-twisted, chop-chop, sing-song, buck-toothed, perpetual mono-foreigner. Where did you learn to speak English so well? Slant-eyed bad driver. And what the hell are you anyway? I, who am invisible on America's pages. But as you know, the history of AAPI hate crimes and massacre is centuries old, with its origins dating back to Exclusion Acts, 1871 mass lynchings of Chinese railroad workers, the 1875 Page Exclusion Act, which particularly demonized Asian women as prostitutes and unclean. There was a mass incarceration of 120,000 Japanese Americans in World War II concentration camps. White laborers blaming farm workers and Asian Americans for our depressed economy and stealing jobs. Remember Vincent Chin, who was murdered by unemployed auto workers who mistook him for a Japanese. And we can't forget 9/11 and the post-persecution and murder of Muslims and East Asians. The ongoing image of AAPI communities as the model minority has much to damage us by dehumanizing us and pitting us against our African, Latinx, Native American brothers and sisters. The military sexual complex with the U.S. military occupying Asian countries became sites for exploitation and hypersexualization of local poor and working class women who had few options to survive except in the sex trade. Former President Trump dehumanized Asians, labeling COVID as a China virus or Kong flu, and that inflamed race hatred and deepened resentment from African Americans who have been underserved historically and during the pandemic of COVID. But injustice has often become the fuel for the fire of rebellion. I found my voice, my power, and my authentic spirit in the revolution of the 60s, after I started working part-time at Glide while attending graduate school at San Francisco State University. Working with Cecil, the LGBTQ and civil rights communities turned my world upside down as I came to realize how self-definition and love would save our lives. God bless Cecil, his loving and revolutionary heart. He became a friend, mentor, and changed my life by accepting and loving me enough to start my journey to discovery by recovery. I began to grow my self-respect, pride, and renewed sense of courage. I became involved with the ethnic studies student strike and the Asian American movement at San Francisco State. Poetry became one of our weapons of defiance and affirmation, challenging the negative stereotypes and claiming our humanity. This poem is entitled, Yes, We Are Not Invisible. No, I'm not from Tokyo, Singapore, or Saigon. No, your dogs are safe with me. No, I don't invade the park for squirrel meat. No, my peripheral vision is fine. No, I'm very bad at math. No, I do not answer to Geisha Girl, China Doll, Susie Wong, Mama San, or Gook, Jap, or Chink. No, to us, life is not cheap. I do not know the art of tea, and no, I am not grateful for all you've done for me. Friends of mine have died from AIDS, another driven mad by PTSD. Some of us were murdered, blamed for this economy. Another has OD'd. We've been jailed for mistaken identity, incarcerated because of ancestry. And no, I am not the model minority. No, I am from Stockton, Angel Island, Detroit, Waikiki, San Francisco, Tule Lake, Delano, Chicago, New York City, Anchorage, Phoenix, Raleigh. And yes, I am alive because of memory. Ancestors who endured adversity, the strength of this diversity. No, we are not invisible. And yes, I am from Tokyo, Singapore, Manila, Guam, Beijing, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, India, Korea, Samoa, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Yes, this strength, like ropes of the sun, again lifts a new morning. And yes, we rise as always amidst you. So when people ask me, what am I? And where am I from? No, really from. I answer, I come from a long line of women warriors. My ancestors in Japan, who survived famine and drought, immigrated to Hawaii, worked sugar plantations as slaves, bent to bear 9 children, and still stood with straight backs. Moved to California, where their children, my mother, bought land and built a farm from barren land, planting, feeding poultry, and still stood with straight back. Suddenly the military invaded our homes, told us to pack only what we could carry, to be incarcerated because of ancestry. Enemy aliens, they called us. Still, my mother with me as infant on her back, heavy bags of necessities around her shoulders, stood with straight back. It is called pride, she said. Not conceit, not vanity, but we call it face, quiet dignity, self-consequence. She, bent by sandstorms, barracks cramped with 5 in one room, bent by heavy sacks of mail she carried bearing letters to families whose sons were killed serving in the United States Army, military. Her tears dried by desert heat, still she stood with straight back. For 40 years she kept silent and finally testified for reparations. Straight-spined, she said, I've stayed alive to exact an apology as physical as a gash across the face of your war crimes. And she, chin high, standing at the door of history, said no, none will be in those camps again. I am grateful to you, beloved community and staff and Glide leadership, for standing in solidarity for justice with all who have suffered from violence and racism, for your courageous open arms to radical inclusivity and all people. I am grateful to Cecil, my partner, for teaching me that fighting for anyone's rights is fighting for all our rights. I applaud the AAPI young people and our allies for speaking out and marching against violence. I am grateful for the decades of work I was privileged to engage in, coalition building with other cultural workers, and especially women and women of color. I feel gifted by their courage, truth, and who demonstrated that we are, as Maya says, more alike than unalike. And I end with a poem dedicated to women who are outspoken, courageous, wise, tender, and tough, and they be so good, they be bad. Bad women can cook, create a miracle in a pot, make something out of chicken feet, pig's feet, cornmeal, hog maw, fish head, fat back, ribs, roots, greens, soy, or red beans. Bad women celebrate themselves, dark as plum and coffee, light as cream and butter. Gold as sun on lemons, red as cinnamon, brown as cola, plump as mangoes, skinny as tallow. Watch out for bad women, marching, fighting for racial justice, choice, healthcare and education equity, ending wage disparity. Bad women flaunt themselves, finger-popping, hip-shaking, big laughs, smart-thinking women, hat-wearing, tangerine lipstick queens. Small and full-breasted women, fat-kneed, skinny-ankled women who dance without warning, wrap their women or their men around their waist, and boogie to the edge of dawn. Bad women resist violent love affairs, child abuse, and unsafe sex. Stir their tears in cups of compassion. Add some hot sauce, wasabi, spices, jalapenos, the salt of memory. Stoke fires of history. Simmer in resilience. Make it taste like home. Bad women can burn. Thank you, my brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Janice Mirkatani, for bringing us not just a word, but the word. Thank you for wrapping up this National Poetry Month and for ushering in what could never contain the myriad of experiences, but is called AAPI History Month. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. Now, in the name of all that is good, right, holy, restorative, revolutionary, extravagantly welcoming, open and affirming, radically inclusive, theopoetic, and unconditionally loving, we welcome you back to your story. And then we release you back into your story. We hope that you have discovered today that your story is our story. In the name of liberation, freedom, and recovery, we close the sacred container as sweetly as we opened it, and we call it done. Amen. Please join us in Freedom Hall for some fellowship time. There's a link in the chat right now that will show you how to get there. Make sure you join us next week, where we will be having another celebration with you in mind. My name is Marvin K. White. I'm your Minister of Celebration, and now Vernon Bush, our musical director, will lead us out.
Thank you, Minister Marvin. As we end our celebration, we end it with a strong song of love and where we are right now. We shall overcome today. Won't you join with us? that we shall all be free today. That we shall overcome, that we shall overcome today. One more time. Oh, that we shall overcome
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court File Number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, Juror Foreperson, Juror Number 19. Same caption, verdict Count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by Jury Foreperson, Juror Number 19. Same caption, verdict Count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury Foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror Number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts, so say you one, so say you all?
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further? All right. Thank you. We're adjourned.
So, counsel, Gates, I can send you to me.